In Abu Dhabi, Israel's Iron Dome shoots missiles out of Arab skies. In Jerusalem, tens of thousands march through Arab quarters chanting, "Death to Arabs." Same flag, same week, two faces of the same nation. By day, the diplomats sign accords. By night, the marchers bang on the shutters of Palestinian shops. This is what normalization looks like in 2026. A few weeks ago, Israel's Iron Dome was sitting on Emirati soil, shooting Iranian missiles out of Arab skies. The Abraham Accords had produced something that would have seemed unthinkable a decade ago: Israeli soldiers defending an Arab capital. Then came May 14th and a rather different picture of Israeli-Arab relations. Tens of thousands of nationalists flooded Jerusalem for the annual Jerusalem Day March, the state-funded celebration of Israel's capture of East Jerusalem in 1967. By the time the crowds pushed into the Muslim quarter of the Old City, the chants echoing through its stone alleyways were "Death to Arabs," "May your villages burn," and "Gaza is a graveyard." Most Palestinian shopkeepers had already pulled down their shutters before the marchers arrived. Those who stayed found chairs thrown at them. Journalists covering the event were shoved and blocked from filming. Marchers banged on closed metal shutters as they passed through emptied streets. At the Al-Aqsa compound, National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir danced with supporters, unfurled an Israeli flag, and later took to Telegram to mark the occasion.
This year's Ramadan was the quietest. We restored governance. We restored deterrence. There is deterrence against terrorists in Jerusalem and throughout the state of Israel. The Temple Mount is in our hands.
The march was funded by the Jerusalem municipality and government ministries. Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich walked among the crowds. Marchers were bussed in from across Israel and from settlements in the occupied West Bank. Not everyone came to march, though. 400 volunteers in purple high-vis vests, deployed by the Israeli-Palestinian grassroots group, standing together, spread across the old city trying to shield Palestinian residents. Among them was an ultra-Orthodox man who had travelled from northern Israel and gave only his first name, David.
I become appalled by the violent behavior of people in my community. This is a desecration of God's name, so the only way to remedy that is to do the opposite.
The Abraham Accords were built on the idea that pragmatism could quietly bury decades of hatred. Flags signed in Washington, missiles intercepted over Abu Dhabi, handshakes in the desert. The diplomats call it normalization. What filled the streets of Jerusalem on May 14th had a different name entirely. Hundreds of Israeli settlers, led by Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, stormed Joseph's tomb in the occupied West Bank city of Nablus on May 13th. In a heavily guarded overnight incursion that Palestinian officials say reflects accelerating annexation efforts in the territory. According to Middle East Eye, Israeli troops sealed checkpoints and raided parts of Nablus before escorting nearly 5,000 settlers into the shrine compound for prayers. During the visit, Smotrich openly declared that Israel intended to deepen and permanently establish its presence at the site, despite it being located inside a Palestinian Authority-administered city.
Our presence here at Joseph's tomb in broad daylight is a clear statement. The people of Israel are returning home to all parts of their land. Joseph's tomb is living testimony to the inseparable connection between the people of Israel and their land.
The far-right minister, who also oversees civil administration in the occupied West Bank through Israel's defense ministry, said the overnight prayers marked another stage in expanding Israeli control over what Israelis refer to as Samaria, the biblical term used for the northern West Bank.
This prayer is another step in a historic correction and in strengthening our hold on Samaria, using the Israeli term for the northern West Bank. We are acting and will continue to act so that the Jewish presence here becomes permanent.
He later called on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Israel Katz to further deepen Israeli control over the compound.
This is the most fitting Zionist response to our enemies, deepening our roots in our land.
Joseph's tomb has long been a flashpoint in the occupied West Bank. Palestinians believe the site contains the grave of Sheikh Yusuf Dwaykat, while many Israelis believe it is the burial place of the prophet Joseph. The incursion also included religious Zionism lawmaker Tzvi Sukkot, an MP from Smotrich's religious Zionist party, also entered the compound on May 13th and urged the government to take full control of the tomb. Sukkot, who chairs the Knesset's Education, Culture and Sports Committee, said,
"From here we send one demand: restore the Jewish presence."
Meanwhile, Shomron Regional Council head Yossi Dagan described the operation as part of a wider push to restore permanent Israeli control over the compound.
A historic morning marking another step toward the full return of the State of Israel to this sacred compound. The current situation cannot continue. The goal is clear: the full and permanent return of the Od Yosef Chai Yeshiva to its natural place, and for the Israeli flag to fly over Joseph's tomb.
The raid is likely to intensify tensions in the occupied West Bank amid growing fears of accelerated settlement expansion and annexation.
A significant power struggle is unfolding within Israel's security establishment as National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir pushes to fundamentally alter the delicate arrangements governing Jerusalem's most contested religious site. According to a report by Haaretz, Jerusalem District Police Commander Amir Arzani has found himself at odds with Police Chief Danny Levy following Ben-Gvir's attempt to change the established status quo. The conflict reached a new level yesterday when Ben-Gvir took an unprecedented step, leading a group of Jewish worshippers in prayer atop the flashpoint site. The move represents his latest violation of the long-time status quo agreement between Israel and Jordan that has governed the sacred compound since 1967. Since Israel captured the site in 1967, Jews have been allowed to visit but not pray there. Palestinians consider the mosque a national symbol and view visits by Jewish leaders as provocative and as a potential precursor to Israel seizing control over the compound. Ben-Gvir was visiting to mark the Jewish holiday of Tisha B'Av, a day of mourning when Jews reflect on the destruction of the First and Second Temples. Israeli media reported that this was the first time a sitting minister actively and vocally led prayers at the site. According to Haaretz sources, Arzani is refusing to acquiesce to Ben-Gvir's demands, which include permitting public prayer and extending visiting hours for Jewish worshippers. Rather than supporting his Jerusalem commander's position, Police Chief Levy is reportedly working with Ben-Gvir to push Arzani out and replace him with someone willing to implement the minister's vision. Sources tell the news outlet that Arzani is aware of these attempts and has informed Levy that he will not agree to be transferred out of Jerusalem to another position. He plans to remain in his post until the end of 2026, at which point he expects to retire. The report adds that Arzani is one of only a few senior police officials opposed to Ben-Gvir's attempts to allow public Jewish prayer atop Temple Mount. In response to Ben-Gvir's visit, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the status quo at the site had not changed and would not change to allow Jewish prayer. The 49-year-old ultra-nationalist settler leader has transformed himself over decades from an outlaw and provocateur into one of Israel's most influential politicians. Ben-Gvir has been convicted 8 times for offences that include racism and supporting a terrorist organisation. The army banned him from compulsory military service when he was a teen, deeming his views too extreme.